Okay, today I'm going to walk you through the process of building a Benettv2, show you some of the tips and tricks to putting this together. And anyway, let's get started. Okay, so let's get started here building the Benettv2. Just real quick, some of the tools you may need: an X-Acto knife, or an X-Acto knife like this, a 2mm hex driver, small Phillips screwdriver, tiny hobby cutter. Let's see, what else? Hot glue gun for sure, and some little things. Some of these tongue depressors or popsicle stick, and wire cutters comes in handy. And we're also going to use a Z-bender today. All right, let's get busy doing this. First of all, the wing is going to come in two sections, a right-hand side and a left-hand side. So as you can see here, I have my two sections, and they're still obviously in the foam board. The foam board, you have two tail sections. So when you begin to cut this out, you'll notice that you have two tail sections. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to pop out those tail sections. And if they don't pop out, just grab a knife, and where they're still attached to the foam, just cut it through to free them out. Just pop them out. And pop this out too. Just like that. Here's our rudder section right here. Pop that out. And then you'll notice on the other side we have another elevator or horizontal stabilizer and rudder. So you have two horizontal stabilizers and you have two vertical stabilizers and rudder. Anyway, it's just an extra. We're just going to use one of these. So I'm going to put one set aside. We had enough room in the foam board to give you two sections, so that's what we did. We gave two rudders, two elevators. Anyway, next thing we're going to pop out here, this little piece. This little piece right here serves as like the side of our fuselage. So just pop that out. So we got that one out, and again, you get two of them in the kit. And again, we just had extra, so this is just for a spare. If you happen to screw up one, then you still got another one to utilize. So again, two of those. We're only going to need one. Okay, next, we're going to pop this piece out and this piece out. These are going to serve as our spars. So these are spar pieces. These are spar pieces. Let me turn this around because there's more spars on this side. So this is a spar piece right here. And again, we'll cut through that and free it up. And there we go. So that's a spar piece. That's a spar piece. Now what we have left in here is our wing. So we can free that up. Now, This extra foam board, don't necessarily trash it right away. You can save it, because if we need to recut another piece or if something goes wrong, we've got good sections here. Like let's say if we needed to recut a spar, we could easily recut a spar if we needed to. So I'm just going to set that aside. So these are all spar pieces here. You're going to notice they're different lengths. We'll get to that in a bit here. I'm just going to set that aside. And now, bring this over here. And we're going to free up these other spar pieces here. Another spar piece. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's it for spars. I'll just pop the wing out the rest of the way. We got our 2 halves of the wing. Discard that. All right, so now you should have all these spar pieces here. Oh, I think I didn't cut out one. Let's see. Oh, here it is right here. So anyway, you should have all these spar pieces now. All right, let's keep moving on here with building this. I'm going to set my spar pieces aside. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to prep this wing, get it ready to be built. Pop out that little piece, and we'll pop out this little piece here too. I'm going to set this one aside because I might use that as a squeegee later. We'll do that with our other wing. Pop that out. That out. We can push this out too. This is where our servo is going to go. Save that because it could be useful as a squeegee later. Pop this out. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to remove this section here. So the way I'm going to do, I'm just going to bend the foam board like that. The way I like to do this is just take my utility knife and I'm just going to dig that into the cut and just go down the length, pull this out. Or you can use your fingers to pull it out too. If you're going to use your fingers to pull it out, it helps to bend that over a little bit so that it's like that. And then you can just go down, strip here, pull this all out. Just keep pulling that out. And like I said, or you can use your utility knife just like this. It pops out real nice. Just like that, I'll clean that up. There we go. Get rid of our garbage here. So it should look like that. The other thing I'm going to do on the swing, I'm going to get my barbecue skewer. And I'm going to take my barbecue skewer, the blunt end, and I'm going to run this through every single one of these creases here. These creases here are what give our wing the camber. The shape on the top of the wing. This one here is for our aileron, to give our aileron movement. So I'm just gonna crease that as well. And you notice it folds a little bit. I'm gonna hold pressure here with my fingers and just keep making that crease and folding it at the same time, just so I get bigger deflection, because that's our control surface. So there you go. Now that's free. And our wing is got curvature to it. I'm going to do the same thing here on this wing. We're going to pop this piece out, and we're going to run our skewer through each and every one of these creases here. So again, we're just going to take, fold right there, fold again, just to open that up, and then we'll just start popping this out here. And again, like I said earlier, we can just use our fingers too, just to pop that out, just like that. Take my trash, throw it away. So now we've got this opened up. Now let's go ahead with our skewer. And our skewer through these cuts. And again, I'm just using the blunt end, and I'm not going all the way through. I'm not cutting all the way through. I'm just trying to free up the foam a little bit so that we can get some bend to it, some flex. And we'll free up our aileron too, just like we did the other one. Easiest way to do this, like I said, just use my fingers, kind of torque this down a little bit, and just keep trying to, and just keep creasing over it a couple times until we get some real nice bend. One more time. There we go. I'm happy with that. Now, we're going to go ahead and join this together. Get my spars out of the way here. Okay, so we're going to join this together now. So that's going to go together just like this, line up our leading edge and our trailing edge there just like that. So that's going to go together right here like this. Before I do that though, I'm going to flip this over, line it up. I'm going to get a piece of, I like to use this, it's the Gorilla packing tape. I'm just going to put that tape on there. And notice I left a little extra there. I'll do the same thing on this side. Just a little extra right there, just like that. I'm going to flip this over, get my hot glue, and I'm going to open this up a little bit, get my hot glue in there, and run a bead of hot glue in the seam. And get that into the seam. And then fold that down. I'm just going to take that hot glue and smear it. Just like that. Not too much, because it's drying as you're spreading it. I'm going to just make a mess and pull this tape over. Just like that. We'll let that dry. The next thing I'm going to do here to give my wing a little bit more strength is I'm going to add a popsicle stick there, I'm going to add a popsicle stick right there. I'll show you how we're going to do this. So what I'm going to do, put a little bit of hot glue on my popsicle stick. Put that right there. Some more, I'm going to put that right there. Just like that. Okay, so we have a series of spars here. And you're going to see they're all in pairs. So those are our spars. What we're going to do next, we are going to fold this wing over and we're going to trace where the servos go. So just grab yourself a pencil. That's all I'm going to do is just draw 2 lines through here. Just to show right there and right there are where our servos go. Let me get a gray marker here just to mark those a little better so you can see them. That just serves to tell me where the servos are going to go when we push them through. Alright, let's start putting the spars on. First thing I'm going to do here with the spars is I'm going to put the long ones on the leading edge right here and right here. So just take a bead of glue, right there like that. Take my first spar, put it in place right there, right on the leading edge. Put our next spar in place. Again, these are the long ones. Just going to go right there like that. I'll just hold it for a minute. There we go. Okay. Remember before we had where we marked where our servos are going to go. You have 3 sets of spars left. This long one is going to go right there, right in between the 2 servos. These ones are going to go right alongside that. That's going to allow us to get our servos in there. So first, let's take and glue our spars together. That's one spar glued together. Let's glue this one together now. So that one's glued together. Now let's glue this one. All right, let's start putting these spars in place. So again, remember, this is where our servos are going to go. So the first spar, just like that. I'm going to try to put it right in the center, right like that. Take our next spar. I'm going to need another glue stick here in a minute. This one over here, line it up as close to in the center between this line and that line as we can. And there we go. Now you can see our wing is starting to take shape here. So next thing we're going to do, we're gonna kind of use some glue to make the wing remember the shape, or help the wing hold its shape, I guess would be the better way to say it. So I'm just gonna run some glue. I jammed the nozzle of the glue gun into that little seam there. Just going across like that. Just a little bead. You don't have to do anything too crazy. And then I'm just going to flip this over and hold it like this just for a second. And that glue is going to cure inside that seam and give us our nice curvature to our wing. Okay, that glue's had a chance to cure in there. It looks good. I'm gonna move some of this stuff out of the way so I can get more in the center of the table here. Okay, so this glue has had some time to cure here, and now we've got a nice curvature to our wing. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to install the servos here. So before we do that, we're going to grab these little pieces from our kit, and we're going to put these on right like that. So just a little bit of hot glue on the back side here. And then put that, you don't want to block the hole at all. You just want it so that the servo can still go in place there and not be hindered by hot glue or the bracket itself. Do the same thing on the other side. A little bit of hot glue here. Don't burn your fingers. And we're going to put that in place right here as well. And again, we don't want to block the hole. So there we go. Now we got our mounting brackets in place there. I'm going to move this out of the way for just a second. Here is the servos that we're going to use. These are the Emax servos. The package that they come in look like this. Here's what you get in the package. You get your servo. And then you also get your various control arms. Let me show you something about in here. We're not going to use this one. We're not going to use this one. We're not going to use this one. So we can put those aside. We are going to use this arm though. These are wood screws. These are what we're going to use to secure our servo to those mounts that we just installed. This is a little machine screw. This little machine screw is what we're going to use to hold our control horn in place. So, might as well do this right now. What we're going to do next is install our first servo. All right, let's put our first servo in place here. So I'm just going to drop the wire through here like that. And then I'm going to take the servo, push it through. We'll grab those little wood screws. All right, what I'm going to do is secure this one in place, the first wood screw. That one's in place. Use this one. All right, let's drop this servo into place. Get 2 more wood screws. Okay, so there we go. We got both servos installed. Something like this. So now I'm just going to run my servo wires through this little hole. like that. And then let's just take a little piece of tape. Just so it doesn't move while we're building the rest of this wing. Little piece of tape right there like that. And there we go. These aren't going to go anywhere. Next we're going to fold over. We're going to glue this over here. So again, get your hot glue gun. A long bead of glue on here. And then we're going to fold this over here like that. Hold it in place. I'm going to take my hot glue gun right in that seam. I'm going to jam the nozzle in there. A little bit more hot glue just to really secure that right in that seam. And just hold it in place. There we go. The wing is looking really nice. So let's keep going here. Next we're going to do is we're going to install our control horns. Control horns are just going to be popped through these holes like this. Just like that. I'll lift this up. Put a little bit of glue just around the hole. Pop that in place. Do the same thing on the other side. A little bit of glue. Pop it into place. And flip it over. We put these caps on them. And those, just have to push them in place. There we go. All right, next, let's get our clevises on there. Okay, these are our clevises, and these are the little screws that are going to hold our push rod secure into the clevis. So I'm going to grab my little tiny screwdriver, and it's easier to get these started in a little hole now before you actually attach it. So just like that. See, I just started the screw into the hole there. Do the same thing here. I'm going to take the screw, pull my fingertip, and then just get the screw started. Not putting it all the way through the hole, we're just getting it started. Then, when we attach these to the control horns, I like to have the screw facing out toward the wingtip. The reason why is it's easier to make adjustments if we have to, if that screw is here on the outside versus trying to tighten on the inside. It's easier to get access from the outside. I'm gonna put that one on over here. And just squeeze. Sometimes it can be hard to squeeze. You can just grab a little pliers and squeeze it tight. Next, in your kit, you're gonna have these little zip ties. We're gonna take that zip tie, make a loop with it. Now we're gonna put it around this clevis just to hold it in place. Just like that. Use our little hobby clipper to clip that. Do the same thing on the other side. Pull it tight, put it through there. And that'll keep that from going anywhere on us. All right, next we are going to install our servo arms to our servos. So, grab my push rods here. So here we have a push rod. Obviously it's too long. I'm going to show you how we connect the push rod to our servo and then to our aileron. So one of the things that you might have to do is sometimes the holes for these control servo arms are too small for the push rod to go through. If that is the case, you can take a little 1mm drill bit and just simply drill out the hole a little bit if you need to. Just like that. And now you notice it fits right in there, no problem. So let's get these. I'm going to pop these control arms on just like that. And that's all I'm going to do for right now. I'm going to take my servo tester. And there's a couple different ways that we can do this, but take my servo tester, turn it on, press the little button here. There's a little button right here till the center light is illuminated. Turn that off. I'm going to connect my servos. And right now what we're doing is we are centering our servos. So I turn that on. There's our center position. That's a test position. That position allows us to control our horns with the rotary knob. That's our centered position. So this one is looking a little askew. So I'm just going to pop it off. And that's much better. That's what I like. This one looks good. So our servos are now centered. And there's as long as that light's illuminated, our servo is in the center position. So I'll turn this off. Pull our servos off. Now, let's see. I'm going to take these little tiny black screws, those little machine screws. And I'm going to secure the servo arms to the servos. And with these screws, you just got to go till snug. You don't have to ratchet them down, just snug. All right, come over here, push our control horn through, and obviously now you see it's too long. We want to cut this wire so that it's somewhere here inside this clevis. We got a little bit of area there that we have room to play with. So I'm going to make sure my aileron is flush right here. So I'm going to cut this right about there. Grab my wire cutter. I'm just using an eyeball here to get it. And it's better to cut it a little bit too long versus too short, because if you're too short, you're going to have to redo it all over again. So let's see how that is. That's still a little bit too long. Now let's see how that is. Still a little bit too long. Take a little bit more off. And there we go, I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna fish that through there. And now what I'm doing is I wanna try to keep the aileron flush right here. You wouldn't want it up and you wouldn't want it down. So just flush. Now I'm gonna take my screwdriver and I'm gonna screw this screw home, and it's going to secure the push rod in the clevis there. It's a pressure fit. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. But now we just have push rod with no bend in it. This is how we're going to use the Z-bender. The Z-bender has a channel in it for the wire to sit in. We just put our push rod in there, and there we go. We got our Z-bend. Push rod through that hole, and again, we're just eyeballing this here. Nothing too fancy. That's going to be like that. I'll cut it right about. First, cut it right about. Let's see, right about there. Let's see how close I got. Okay, still a little bit too much. Like I said earlier, it's better to cut it a little long versus short, because once you cut it short, there's nothing you can do. Got to start over. Okay, now we're going to tighten that one down, and again, I want to make sure the aileron is flush here with the wing, right here, and now we'll tighten this down. There we go. Okay, so we've got our wing built, our servos are installed, push rods are cut. Let's flip the wing over. We're going to do one last thing here to give our wing some strength and to protect it. We're going to grab 2 more popsicle sticks. We're going to attach one here. We're going to attach one here at the leading edge. Grab our hot glue gun. We'll put this one right here at the leading edge. So this serves 2 purposes. One, it gives the wings some strength to keep us from making a taco out of it when we're flying. The other thing it does is it protects the foam when we install the rubber bands a little bit later. So just like that. Doesn't have to be exact, but something like that. Okay, next we're going to set our wing aside. We're going to do the tail. Okay, here we have our tail section. We've got our vertical stabilizer and our rudder right here. We've got our horizontal stabilizer and our elevator. We're going to do the same thing like we did earlier with our wing. We're going to take our skewer and just run it through here several times just so we get a really nice bend out of it. And there, we got more than enough bend now. Okay, the rudder. If we're going to use the rudder, then you would crease that area right there. We are not going to be using the rudder. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab some tape. We're going to lock the rudder in place so it doesn't break on us in flight, start fluttering around. So just like that. Just going to put a piece of tape over it. This is our top side of our elevator. This is our bottom side. We want more flex for bending up to be our top side. So we're going to glue this in place right here. And put a little bit of glue right here, a little bit of glue right there. Elevator or my rudder in place, and then I'm just going to use that little excess square piece just to hold it nice and square. So you see I'm using the square piece just to hold it nice and square there, let the glue cures. Give that just a couple seconds. Okay. Next thing we'll do, we'll install our control horn. So again, there's no hole here showing where the control horn should go, but we're going to put it about a thumb width or so away from the rudder. So I'm going to do, we want these holes to be roughly in line with the crease. I'm going to take and just push that through just like that. I'm going to pull this out a little bit. Put a little bit of glue in there. Push it back down into place. And then use our little cap here. Secure it to the bottom. Like that. Oh, we got a little bit of glue here. I'll get rid of that. No, it's not doing anything. It's fine. Okay, we're going to need another clevis. Okay, so here we've got our elevator and our rudder or our horizontal stabilizer and our vertical stabilizer. Next thing we're going to do, Take our screw here and start it into the clevis just like we did earlier. And again, we're going to put it so that our screw, we can still get access to our screw from here. Pinch that on there. Grab a zip tie. Put the zip tie on here. Clip it. And that'll keep our clevis from going anywhere on us. All right, next let's move on to the fuselage. Okay, this is our fuselage here. It's our fuselage. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pop out this part. If it doesn't pop out, you can just use a knife to help free it. We're also gonna pop out this little piece right here. That's where our servo is gonna mount. Okay, on to the fuselage. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take the mounting bracket for the servo and run it over the servo, just like this. When I install the servo, I want the wire to go in toward the tail side of the fuselage. Just going to put a little bead of hot glue on here. We'll run our servo wire through the hole. Just like that. And push it into place. Grab our little tiny wood screws. Here we go. We'll connect the control horn. So I'll put the control horn on here, actually. Next we're going to install the control horn. So I'm going to put the control horn on there and get my servo tester. And now plug in the servo. We're going to center our servo. So you can see it's curved a little bit there. Let's see if we can make it a little bit straighter. Doesn't look like we're gonna make it much straighter. So I'm gonna go and install it like that. Grab my little screw here to secure it to the arm of the servo. And again, we're just going finger tight is all we gotta do. Just finger tight. Just like that. Next, let's move on to installing the horizontal stabilizer and vertical stabilizer. Okay. The next thing we can do here before we move on and install the tail on the airplane is we can glue this part in place. So I'm just going to push that in there. So this is just a little side panel here. Just like that. And then that's all I'm going to do is go over it with some glue, little bits at a time. Just Just right over the seam like that. Right over the seam. Just like that. Then I'll grab my little squeegee. And we're just going to keep going. Just squeegee that all into place there, just like that. You don't want to go over this part right here because that's where our battery strap is going to pass through. Just like that. And we can even pop this out if we want. Well, maybe we should let that dry first. Yeah, I'll let it dry. So I'm just going to squeeze the fuselage tight. While that glue cures. Just hold it here for a minute. All right, that's in there, real nice. We're looking good. Okay, next let's move on to the tail. Our fuselage there. Next, we're gonna mount our tail. And our tail's gonna go on here just like that. Right on the center of our fuselage. Or right in the center of our empennage, I should say. So, a little bit of hot glue here. Let's put that into place here. Something else we can do here, we can add some toothpicks. Okay, we got our tail glued on here. Something I like to do is take a couple of toothpicks. That's all I'm going to do at an angle here. I'm going to jam these in here. And then we'll clip this. Jam this one in here. These just act like nails to really kind of help hold the tail securely in place. And you notice I'm kind of going at little angles here. I'll put one more in there. So our tail is nice and secure on there. Okay, let's go ahead and attach our control arm. So I'm just going to take my control arm here. Ooh. Pop it into place right here. And then, before we tighten it down, let's check it with our servo tester. Turn this on. And let's see how we're looking. That's center position, that's test. So it's looking like it's relatively centered. I'm happy with that. And disconnect. Get one of our little black machine screws. We're just going snug. Okay. Grab another one of our push rods here. I'm going to get a box just to elevate this a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to put our push rod in here. And again, if the hole is too small, you can just drill it out. Push rod's through there. And now, again, just like we did earlier, we're going to have to cut the push rod. So as you can see, we don't need quite all that length. And we'll cut it back to like, let's see here, right about there is good. So I'll cut that, see how it looks, and that's looking good. I'm gonna push rod into there, and we'll tighten that down. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to use a couple of zip ties to help secure the push rod to the fuselage, just so it doesn't have all the, you see how it's got all this flexibility in it? We're going to eliminate some of that flexibility. So I'm going to take a zip tie, go right through here, pull it tight, just so we have just a little tiny hole like that. Take the next zip tie, run it through. Just like that. So I'm just going to give myself a little bead of glue right there. And then I'm going to lay the zip tie in that bead of glue. Let me grab a toothpick or something to help us. Just let that cure right there for a second. Do another little bead of glue right here. Use a toothpick to help hold it in place, or whatever you got. Could be a scrap, whatever piece. So the whole idea here is just to kind of keep the push rod from having so much flex. Done with that, you can snip those off. And if you want, you can go over the top of this just to secure it in place. Just like that. Okay, so our fuselage is done. It's looking really nice. Now it's time for the motor. The next thing we're going to do here is open up the motor box.
It might have already been cut, actually.
It's not. Oh, I lied.
And then inside the motor box. Now this motor does not have these little connectors soldered to it. So we are going to show you how to do that. This is only for the schools. Some of the schools want to teach the kids how to solder. So we're keeping the bullets separate so that these schools can go through a little soldering exercise with their students. If your motors come with these already installed, you can skip this step so you won't have to do this. So anyway, also there's a package of screws that you see Delaney emptying. Those screws, we need to save them all. So just empty them onto a plate so that they don't run away.
Oh.
You can cut that to make it easier to get them out too.
Got it.
There you go.
Good.
So we got all those screws. Don't throw away those screws or keep them somewhere where you're not going to lose them. And now Anson's going to show you how we solder the bullets on. And again, only certain schools are going to do this.
A while back, I made this jig for soldering these specifically, but since your school might not have it, I'm gonna do the first two like that. And then the alternative way is to have somebody hold a pliers up. So here, Delaney, can you hold that shut? No, just do the first one like that. Where's the iron?
Don't forget we gotta pre-tin our wires a little bit.
No, they're pre-tinned. They are pre-tinned.
Yeah, so our wires are pre-tinned. They have solder on the end already.
Yep. So the first step that you're gonna do is yank out some of your solder. And I like to just put a little bit on the tip, just so it conducts better. And then you're gonna make a pool.
Put it right into the hole. Put it right in the hole, Anson.
Put it. I'm doing it on the side. It gets right in the hole. And then you just make a little pool in there, right there, till it's flush to the top. And then you're just gonna heat it up again and drop in your wire.
As straight up as possible, not crooked, Anson. Straight up and down.
Then it's good. Delaney can let go, and it's perfect. Now the next two I'm gonna do with the jig. And you can just.
Let me point out one important thing here before you solder, Anson. Try not to get solder on the side here. What's important is if you get any solder on the side and it leaks down onto the bullet, Anson, twist the top of the bullet there.
Okay.
You notice that the bullet spins freely. If the bullet does not spin freely, your motor will not work properly. It's very important to get that solder right into the hole and not onto the outside.
Yep. Yeah, I know. It helps to have like a scraper or wet sponge to help clean your solder.
The other thing, see how Anson's doing them one after the other? He can just keep the iron there and dip, you don't have to reheat it. So there, you got your solder in. Now keep your iron against the bullet.
Yeah. You just
and go straight up and down.
You just keep it till it stops moving, and then it's done. Then you can go pull it out, do the next one.
Heat it up. And then keep the heat there, Anson, because you actually want to melt a little bit of the solder on the wire itself.
Yep.
So keep applying heat.
That's good.
There we go. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to apply the heat shrink. I'm going to show you a technique here with applying the heat shrink so that you don't need a heat gun to apply it.
Yep.
So that's all Anson's going to do is put the heat shrink on there.
And it just slides on. And then you're going to notice, I don't know how macro that or micro that's going to get, but you see that little shift right there where it steps down. You want to get it to close to the edge of that,
The
but
shaft
not
of
quite the
bullet.
edge. Yep.
Now just take your soldering iron and just lightly run it
touch
back
it.
and forth.
Slightly, yep.
And that'll shrink the tubing down. Okay, go ahead and do the other two, Anson. So again, not all the schools are going to have to do this, just the ones that want to have the soldering exercise. Teacher professional development, we are going to be soldering these on.
Here, and then if there's a little, like this one has a little bit of a big bump, so you can just kind of smooth that out with your soldering iron and make that a little bit smaller. And then you can be able to slide the solder or the heat shrink on a lot easier. And then you got 4 or 3 nicely soldered joints.
Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to install the motor into the motor mount. So this motor, we've already soldered on our bullet connectors. So all we got to do with this motor is attach it. Okay, so this motor gets installed into the motor mount here using a 2mm hex driver. When we install the motor on here, we want the wires, this part here with the stem plus C, this is the top of this motor mount. That's the top. This is the bottom. We want the wires to come out somewhere here on the bottom. Preferably on, if this is the 12 o'clock position, that would be like, actually we want it like this. So if this is the 12 o'clock position, we want them coming out like right here at the 7 o'clock position or so. So that's how I want the motor installed. So we'll take our screw, put it in the head of the hex driver there, push the screw through there, and we're going to get it started on that first hole. I'm just going to go snug, not really tight, just so I can still wiggle the motor around a little bit. Push that through there. Now line up with the next hole and screw it into place. Now we can tighten them up. Okay, so you can see here's the top, this is the bottom, and you can see the wires come out at like about the 7 o'clock position. To install that, all you're going to do is put it over the fuselage like that and push it through. Just like that. And get it so it's roughly in the center. Now there's two ways we could do this. We could put a hole through here. We could put a hole through the back of the fuselage and run the wires through. What we're going to do is we are going to just make a little slice right here. And then we're going to embed each wire into the slice. Just like that. And we can go over that with a little bit of hot glue just to secure those wires in place. Grab our little squeegee here. Squeegee that in just to make it nice. And there you go. So our motor wires are embedded into the side of the fuselage there. They can't get tangled up into the propeller or anything. Next is our speed controller. This is our speed controller. This is our speed controller. Next thing, we're going to open that up. Pull it out of the package here. Okay, this is our speed controller. This is going to get installed in here. It's going to connect to the motor wires right here. And we're just going to connect them any way we see fit. Doesn't really matter. We're going to make changes later if we have to. So just like that. Now we want that to land like right here. So we can see the wires are kind of nice and tight. So we got to secure this to the bottom of the fuselage. Here's how we're going to do that. Okay, so we've got our Velcro here. I'm going to cut just a little piece of the loop side and then a little piece of the fuzzy side. I'm going to get my glue gun, and on the back side of the hook side, I'm just going to take and attach that to the speed controller, just like that. Let that cure for a second. The fuzzy side, I'm going to attach to it like that. I'm going to take the fuzzy side, put a little bit of hot glue on the back of the fuzzy side. Take that, pull it nice and tight. I'm going to hold that there for a minute. Let that cure. Okay, as part of this, you're all going to be given a receiver. All the receivers are going to have the fuzzy side on the back of them. We want to be able to secure the receiver into the fuselage. So we'll grab the hook side again. We'll just cut a little piece of the hook side. Put some glue here on the back of this. And then put it in our fuselage like that. And just hold it there for a second, let that dry. Okay, our receiver's installed, our speed controller's installed. All that's left really to do on this is install the propeller. So the propeller, there's a number on one side of the propeller, no number on the back side of the propeller. That number side goes forward like this. We'll just screw that on. We use this 8mm nut driver. Tighten that on there, and your instructors are going to make sure that this is secure on there, just like that. Next, it's time to put the wing on. Okay, next we're going to put this wing on this airplane. I'm going to spread the servo leads out. Flip this over like that. Actually, let's redo that. Okay, next thing we're going to do here, we're going to install the wing. The way we build these, we're going to install these barbecue skewers to enable us to rubber band the wing to the fuselage. So the way we build these, the way we fly these with the 3S2200. We're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4. Put my skewer in there, leave it hang out just maybe 3/4 of an inch to an inch. And on the other side, we're going to cut it so that it's roughly the same. 3/4 of an inch to an inch sticking out. We're going to count from the back side. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to run it through there. And again, just leave it hang out 3/4 of an inch to an inch or so. And we'll cut it on the other side. Okay, next, installing the wing. Here we have our wing. We're going to make sure our servo leads are spread apart. The wing right on top like that. We'll grab our 4 rubber bands. And we're just going to do a crisscross with them. Like that. Now our wing is attached. Flip this over, and now we've got our servo leads here. Okay, now that we've got our servo leads coming through here, we've got to get this one through. So I'm just going to take my knife, and just make a little slot. To push this one through. Let's see if I cut it through enough. Yep. So now, if you can see, the servo lead comes back right through there. We've got access to all our wires. Now, you can plug in. It's kind of hard to show with the camera here. Although, I can pull the receiver out. This is our okay, now that we've got our wires pulled through here, got a wire pulled through here, we've got our receiver. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this Y harness and I'm going to attach the aileron servo wires to this. So the ailerons are connected. This is our speed controller wire. The speed controller wire is going to get plugged into number 1 here. And then the ailerons are going to get plugged into number 2. And brown always goes down on the bottom side of the receiver. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Okay, so now we have all our wires through here. We got our servo wires. First thing I'm going to hook up is I'm going to hook up my Y harness here to the aileron servo wire that came through the other side. Just make sure your wires match up, yellow to yellow, black to black. And then I'll hook up this one, yellow to yellow, black to black, or brown to brown. So now our Y harness is connected. Our speed controller wire is going to get plugged into the number 1 channel here. Our aileron is going to get plugged into number 2 like that. And then our elevator is going to get plugged into number 3. On the receiver here, this is the top side. White or yellow go on the top, brown or black go on the bottom. Turn this sideways for you, it's kind of hard to do with the... Alright, I'm going to take my receiver, put it in place, and just tuck the wires in here real nice. And there we go. That's all she needs now is a battery and a battery strap. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is install the battery strap. The battery strap's going to go in like that so it can loop around. Push it through there. Just so that this plastic piece is right at the top here. Install the battery like that. Just like that. That build is done.